Hello everybody, this is Beth Willoughby, independent stamping up decorator, and I wanted to bring you a video today showing how you can make a little sweet treat for your sweetheart. Please pardon the shadows. I don't have the best lighting, and as you know, my video person is not here right now. This is a little card or just a little treat that looks like a chocolate bar. And it has an insert where you can write sentiments on it. It was made using the stamp set, Nothing Better Than, and it's coordinating dies, Love You More Than. And these are still current items. They're in the annual catalog on page 91. You can buy them as a bundle. I did use some retired designer series paper. It's From My Heart retired paper. And I'm going to move right along and show you how I made this. First of all, we're going to make the chocolate bar. I have a piece of Early Espresso paper. It is cut at 5.5 by 7. And I scored it at 3 and again at 6 1/8, okay? I also have 6 1-inch squares of Early Espresso and 6 3/4-inch squares of Early Espresso. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and close my chocolate bar up. Simply going to put on the small flap over here, I'm going to put some adhesive. Oops. And I'm going to fold it in. So now you have pretty much virtually a little envelope. I'm going to place my 1-inch squares and see what kind of margins I'm looking at. Okay, as I thought, there's just going to be a tiny bit of margin on each side there. So go ahead and stick those down. I'm going to put them flush up to the top and just leave a tiny, tiny bit of margin there. And the middle one should go on just as easily. If we can get the adhesive to roll. Early Espresso on Early Espresso is a little bit hard to see. Okay, get the other 3 stuck down. And I'm going to try and line them up with the top just as best we can there. Hope you're all doing well on this frosty January morning. Okay, now the 3/4-inch squares, I'm going to adhere with our black dimensionals, and this will keep from the stark white from peeking out those corners. Now, before we do that though, I'm going to take our bone folder and just make crisscrosses on the top of each of these squares. That's just going to make it look like it has a little bit of dimension. Then we're going to come back the other way. You can use a ruler to do this, but I didn't. Okay, now just gonna center these on our larger squares. There we go. Okay. We're almost there. Alrighty then. Okay. Now we're going to set our chocolate bar aside for a minute. Well, no, we're not. I have a piece of designer series paper that's cut at 3.5 by 7, and I scored it once at 3. And I want to show you why I only scored it once. It's just easier for me to wrap around because each time I cut, maybe it'll be a little bit different. So I put my scored edge here, and I'm going to leave probably at least a good 1/4 inch. You'll see why down here at the bottom. And don't worry if it goes on top of your squares here, because we're going to tear that back in just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and just fold this around. And thank goodness I just looked up, because first of all, we want to put the foil on. Gee, y'all forgive me. Okay, here I have a piece of just plain old kitchen foil, and I've cut it at 5 by 7. So we're going to wrap it around before we put the designer series paper on. So I'm going to leave the same kind of margin down here at the bottom. Just fold it around. Okay. Now, geez, I messed that up. Okay. We're not going to do that. We're going to leave a margin of foil down at the bottom, okay? And I'll show you why in just a second. Let's try that again. All right, now, okay. What we're going to do is wrap this like a present. We're going to fold this corner in. Okay, and fold the bottom up. Just like that. Okay, now we're going to wrap our designer series paper around, and that's when we're going to leave the bottom. A margin at the bottom. Now, okay, basically we have our wrapper done. And we're going to tear this down. Going to tear the foil. And then tear our designer series paper, so it's going to look like we've torn into our candy bar. You might want to play with your foil, get it how you want it. I like to let it show a little bit of the other side of the designer series paper, but as I said, just play with it. So you might want to fold your foil over a little bit more. And just go all the way around the bar and tear your paper like that. And that's why we let it go up above our squares a while ago. Make it look just like you couldn't wait to rip into that delicious chocolate candy bar. Hope you can see what I'm doing here. I've torn the paper down. I'm tearing the foil, crumpling the foil. You can go back and rip some of your foil off, however you want it to look. You're just going to have to play with it there a little bit. All right, now. Okay. Get it how you want it. Now, see, that wasn't hard at all, was it? Pretty cool. Now, you can make these for all kinds of occasions. You don't have to make it a Valentine's. You can do it for any occasion whatsoever. Use any kind of designer series paper you like. Now I am going to put my band on, and this is a band of the same designer series paper, the from My Heart to Designer Series paper, and this is 1.5 by 7. And I'm just going to wrap it around here and kind of eyeball it, fold it around, and we can adhere it. Okay. So now I'm going to do my heart a little bit different than I did on the original. I used the heart punch pack, and I cropped a Flirty Flamingo heart with the larger scalloped edge heart and a white one with the smaller heart. And before I put those together, I am going to stamp You're Just Like from our stamp set onto the white heart. Okay. And I'm going to use Flirty Flamingo ink. I think I need to clean my blocks. See if I've got this in the right direction. All right, that turned out. I'm going to adhere these two hearts together. And then I'm going to kind of dry fit it and see where everything's going to go. Okay. I went ahead and cropped the word chocolate from Early Espresso paper using the dies. And I put it on some of these adhesive foam sheets. Now, these are in the annual catalog on page 162. You can see the thickness there. They're double-sided adhesive. So I just cut a scrap of Early Espresso, cut around a piece of this to fit it. And when you're done, you're going to have adhesive on the other side of your die cut. So let's see how we want to place this here. You're just like Whoopsie. Chocolate. Okay. Let's see, I'll go ahead and pop this down. And get this peeled off. And make sure that you've got all the little widgets out, all the little fillers. And I suggest when you are using a die with this kind of foam that you run it backward and forwards through your die machine 2 or 3 times, because that's quite a bit of thickness there. And you want to make sure that it cuts completely. And of course, this is being obstinate because you're watching me, right? Oopsie, and I tore my chocolate in half, but that's okay. That's pretty good adhesive. We'll put it back together and you'll never know, right? That's my story anyway, and I'm going to stick with it. Okay, now, here we go. We're going to start chocolate right over here. Oopsie. And we're going to fit this C right back where it goes. Excuse my head if I get in there. Now, chocolate. All right, there you go. Now, we've got the outside of our treat. You're just like chocolate. Now, I cut an insert of Whisper White Thick. And I'm going to use a hole punch. This is not Stampin' Up, a standard hole punch. Put a hole in the center up here, just as centered as it looks. Okay, now I can stamp on there and know that I still have plenty of room. Looks like I've gotten a little crooked here. So we're going to put, let's see, you make everything better on the inside. So it's going to say you're just like chocolate. You make everything better. And when you smear it, you flip to the other side, right? Okay. I always like to do my test run on my grid paper. So I want to say, you make everything better. Let's turn it back over and try that again. Okay, now. And the next thing we want to stamp is some of these little chocolate treats down here. So there's an outline that I'm going to do in Early Espresso. And I am just going to put it randomly on here in a couple of places. Since I smeared a little bit there, we'll go ahead and put one there, which I did a great job on, you can see. That's still going to give us plenty of room for a handwritten note. Now we're going to put the innards of the candy on there. Now I've seen these done with cinnamon cider on the inside for the solid part, and that looks really yummy, kind of like milk chocolate. And another thing I thought would be fun is to make your chocolate bar out of very vanilla and then splatter it with Early Espresso to make it look like a cookies and cream. Now I've lost my, there it is. There are the insides. Okay, I thought that would make a really cool thing. Now, because this is so bright, I wanted it to be more of a pink, so I'm going to stamp off once. Okay. And it doesn't matter if you don't get these lined up exactly. They still look really cute. Okay. And the last thing to do is to put some ribbon up here at the top. Now, I cut this insert at 2 3/4 by 5 1/4 because I want it to be able to hide all the way in there. I don't want the white to stick out at the top. The ribbon I'm going to use is some from the annual catalog, and it's called Faux Suede Trim. Faux Suede Trim. It's on page 161 of the annual catalog. So here we go. I'm going to poke my little loop through here. And I've hidden my good ribbon scissors from myself. Imagine that, if you could see my stamp room right now. Okay, so now you have a little insert. You're just like chocolate. You make everything better. And I believe that you could fit a Hershey bar down in there if you really wanted to. You'll have to experiment with that. But I thought this was just as cute as can be, and I hope that you all enjoy it. I will put the measurements for all the pieces down below in the description. Thank you.